I never believed in fate until the night I walked into my office and found my past kneeling on the marble floor, scrubbing away 12 years of my carefully constructed lies. The smell of industrial cleaner mixed with something achingly familiar. Jasmine and sea salt, the scent that used to cling to her hair when we'd walk the beaches of Santorini at sunset. My name is Demetrios Alexandros Katsaros, and 30 seconds after I saw her there, I dropped to my knees in a way that would change everything I thought I knew about power, about love, and about the price of choosing money over your soul. It was 11:23 on a Thursday night in Manhattan, and I should have been home in my penthouse, reviewing contracts for the Morrison deal that would add another 50 million to the Katsaros empire. Instead, I was standing frozen in the doorway of my 47th floor office, watching a woman in a grey cleaning uniform hum a melody that transported me instantly back to a whitewashed taverna overlooking the Aegean Sea. She was on her hands and knees, methodically working soap into the Italian marble, her dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail that revealed the graceful curve of her neck. The same neck I used to trace with my fingertips when we were 19 and believed love could conquer anything. You know that feeling when your entire world tilts on its axis and you're not sure if you're going to vomit or faint or both? That's exactly what hit me as I recognized the profile, the way she moved, the unconscious grace that no amount of hard living could erase. Isadora Penelope's, the woman I was supposed to marry, the woman my grandfather forced me to abandon, the woman who haunted every relationship I'd attempted since, every business decision I'd made. Every moment I'd tried to convince myself that money and power were enough to fill the Isadora-shaped hole in my chest. My breath came out in a sharp exhale that echoed in the empty office space. The sound made her freeze, her humming stopping abruptly. Slowly, she turned her head toward me, and when our eyes met across the expanse of my corner office, with its floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the glittering Manhattan skyline, I watched 12 years of carefully built walls crumble in both our faces. Her sea-green eyes, the ones I used to get lost in for hours, widened in shock before quickly filling with something that looked like panic. Demetrios, my name fell from her lips like a prayer, like a curse, like everything I'd been missing, without even realizing it. Her voice was rougher now, worn down by years I knew nothing about, but it still held that musical quality that used to make me feel like I could fly. Isadora, I couldn't manage anything else. My throat felt like I'd swallowed sand from the beaches where we used to make love under the stars, where I'd promised her forever and meant every word until my grandfather's ultimatums made forever impossible. She scrambled to her feet so quickly that she knocked over her bucket, sending sudsy water spreading across the floor. Her hands shook as she grabbed the mop as she backed toward the cleaning cart loaded with supplies. "I'm sorry, Mr. Katsaros. I didn't know you'd be here this late. I'll finish this tomorrow. Mr. Katsaros." The formality hit me like a physical blow. This was the woman who used to call me Demi, who would whisper my full name in Greek when she was beneath me, who knew every scar on my body and every fear in my heart. "Isadora, what are you doing here? Working?" The word came out, clipped, defensive. She wouldn't look at me directly now, focusing instead on trying to right the bucket with hands that trembled visibly. "I work for Premier Cleaning Services. We have the contract for this building." The words didn't compute. This was Isadora Stavros, the brilliant literature student who used to quote Sappho while we watched the sunrise, who dreamed of writing novels that would make people feel less alone in the world. She was supposed to be living her dreams somewhere, married to someone who deserved her, happy in ways I'd convinced myself I could never make her. "But your studies, your writing, you were going to things change." Her voice carried a bitterness that cut through me like a knife. She'd managed to get the bucket upright, and was now wringing out her mop with more force than necessary. People change, dreams die, life happens. Demetrios, the way she said my name, full and formal, told me everything about how much damage my abandonment had done. I took a step toward her, and she immediately took 2 steps back, putting the cleaning cart between us like a barrier. Isadora, please, can we talk? I need to explain. There's nothing to explain. She was moving now, gathering her supplies with the efficiency of someone who'd perfected the art of invisible productivity. You made your choice 12 years ago. You chose your family's money over us. I understand. I've always understood. But I could see in her face that understanding and accepting were 2 very different things. There was a hurt in her eyes that time hadn't healed, a wound that had scarred over but never properly closed. And beneath that hurt, something else flash of the love we'd shared, quickly suppressed, but not quick enough for me to miss. You don't understand, I said, my voice rougher than I intended. You couldn't understand because you don't know what really happened, what my grandfather, your grandfather. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Demetrios, you stood me up at our engagement party, in front of my entire family, our entire village. You disappeared for 3 days and then sent Andreas to tell me it was over. You couldn't even face me yourself. The memory hit me like a punch to the gut. I could still see her face that night, radiant in the white dress her mother had sewn by hand, the olive crown in her hair that my grandmother had worn at her own wedding. I could still feel the weight of my grandfather's ultimatum: choose the family business and my inheritance, or choose love and watch him destroy not just me, but Isadora's family as well. He'd shown me documents, contracts he could cancel, loans he could call in that would bankrupt her father's fishing business and leave her family homeless. It wasn't supposed to happen that way, I whispered. I was going to explain everything, but then your father's boat don't. She held up a hand, and I saw her blinking back tears. Just don't. Whatever story you've told yourself to sleep at night, I don't want to hear it. She was almost to the door now, pushing her cart ahead of her like armor. But as she passed my desk, something fell from her uniform pocket and fluttered to the floor. A photograph, bent and worn from handling. Before she could reach for it, I was there, picking it up. And when I saw what it was, the world stopped spinning. It was a school photo of a little girl, maybe 10 or 11 years old, with dark curls and sea-green eyes that were unmistakably familiar. But it wasn't just the coloring that made my breath catch it. Was the shape of her face, the stubborn set of her jaw, the way she smiled with one corner of her mouth higher than the other. I'd seen that exact expression in the mirror every day of my life. Who is this? I asked, though something deep in my bones already knew the answer. Isadora went white as the marble walls of my office. She snatched for the photo, but I pulled it back, studying the face that looked like a perfect blend of both of us. Give it back, she whispered. Who is this, Isadora? It's none of your business. She has my eyes. She has her own eyes. And my jaw. And my eye looked up at her, and the truth was written all over her face. In the way she'd gone completely still, in the panic that filled her expression. Oh God, Isadora, is she? Give me the photograph and let me leave. But I couldn't move. I was staring at this little girl who had my features stamped all over her face, doing the math in my head, counting backwards. 11 years old, maybe 12, which meant ... You were pregnant. The words came out strangled. When I left, you were pregnant. She didn't deny it. She just stood there, tears finally spilling over, looking like she wanted to disappear into the floor. Why didn't you tell me? I demanded. Why didn't you tell you? Her voice rose, cracking with years of suppressed pain. Tell you what, Demetrios? You'd already made it clear that your family's money was more important than our future. What was I supposed to do? Trap you with a baby? force you to choose again, and hope you'd pick different. I would have chosen different. If I'd known, if you'd known, you would have married me out of obligation and spent the rest of your life resenting me for it. And your grandfather would have made sure my family paid the price for that resentment every single day. There was truth in her words that I couldn't argue with, truth that made me sick to my stomach. Because she was right at 22, scared and backed into a corner by Leonidas's threats, I might have done exactly that. I might have married her and then grown to hate both of us for the chains I felt around my throat. What's her name? I asked quietly. Isadora closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, there was a resigned exhaustion there that aged her a decade. Sophia, Elena, my grandmother's name, the woman who'd raised me after my parents died, who'd loved Isadora like her own daughter, until Leonidas's poison turned her against our relationship. You named her after Yaya Elena. Your grandmother was kind to me. Before, before everything fell apart. I was still holding the photograph, staring at this child I'd never known existed. This daughter who'd grown up without me. Where is she now? At home with my mother. Sleeping, hopefully, though she's been having trouble with that lately. She's been sick. The way she said it made my blood run cold. Sick how? It's nothing you need to worry about. Isadora, if she's my daughter, she's my daughter. The fierceness in her voice reminded me of the girl who used to argue literature with professors twice her age and win. She's been mine for 11 years while you've been up here in your ivory tower playing Greek god with other people's lives. The words hit their mark, but I pushed through the pain. I want to meet her. Absolutely not. She's my child. She's a child who doesn't know you exist. Isadora's voice broke on the last word. She's a little girl who's never asked about her father, because I've spent 11 years making sure she felt complete without you. You don't get to waltz back into our lives now, just because you stumbled across a photograph. But even as she said it, I could see the cracks in her armor. This wasn't about protecting Sophia from me, this was about protecting herself from hope. From the possibility that I might disappoint them both again. Isadora, please. I know I have no right to ask, but you're right. You have no right. She'd managed to get the photograph back while I was distracted, and now she was backing toward the door again. I need to go. I have 3 more offices to clean before my shift ends, and then I have to be at my other job by 6 in the morning. 2 jobs. She was working 2 jobs to support our daughter while I lived in a penthouse that cost more per month than most people. Made in a year. The guilt was crushing, but underneath it was something else, a fierce protectiveness. A need to take care of them both that surprised me with its intensity. Let me help, I said. Money for Sophia, for her medical bills, for we don't need your charity. It's not charity, it's too late. She was at the door now, her hand on the handle. It's 12 years too late, Demetrius. But as she turned to leave, I caught sight of something else that stopped me cold. There, on the cart, among her cleaning supplies, was a small prescription bottle. I couldn't read the label from where I stood, but the sight of it sent panic shooting through my chest. Isadora, wait. She didn't wait. She walked out of my office and out of my life for the second time, leaving me standing there holding nothing but the lingering scent of jasmine and the echo of a child's laughter. I'd never heard, I don't know, how long I stood there in the empty office, staring at the door she'd disappeared through. The cleaning supplies were gone, but the smell of industrial soap lingered, mixed with the ghost of her perfume and the weight of everything I'd lost. Slowly, like a man in a dream, I walked to my desk and sank into the leather chair that had cost more than most cars. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone and scrolled to a contact I hadn't called in months. Andreas Nikolaus Manolis, my oldest friend, my lawyer, the only person who'd known the whole truth about why I'd left Santorini and never gone back. Demi, his voice was thick with sleep when he answered. It's nearly midnight. What's wrong? I found her. Found who? Isadora. She's here, in New York. She's been here, Andreas. She works for the cleaning company that services my building. There was a long pause. Jesus, are you okay? She has a daughter. My voice cracked on the words. An 11-year-old daughter who looks exactly like me. Another pause, longer this time. When Andreas spoke again, his voice was careful, controlled. Demi, are you sure? I saw the photo. There's no question. A photo isn't. She didn't deny it. I was pacing now, unable to sit still with the energy coursing through me. She's been raising my child alone for 11 years, while I've been living this empty life, building this empire that means nothing. Slow down. Tell me exactly what happened. So I did. I told him about finding her in my office, about the shock of recognition, about the photograph and the prescription bottle, and the way she'd looked at me like I was a stranger. I told him about the hurt in her eyes and the fierce protectiveness when she talked about Sophia, about how she'd refused my help and walked away again. She said, the child is sick, I finished. There was medication, Andreas. What if she needs treatment we can't afford? What if first, breathe, Andreas interrupted. Second, you need to think about this rationally. It's been 12 years. Demi, you can't just rationally. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. There's nothing rational about any of this. I have a daughter I've never met who might be sick, and the woman I've never stopped loving is working 2 jobs to survive. Rationale went out the window the moment I saw her face. Okay, Andrea said carefully. Okay, what do you want to do? I want to know everything. Where they live, where Sophia goes to school, what's wrong with her health. I want to know if Isadora tried to contact me over the years, if she did. Me stop. Andreas's voice was firm now, lawyer-like. You can't just investigate them. Isadora made it clear she doesn't want you involved. If you start digging into their lives without permission, it's going to look like stalking. Then what am I supposed to do? Just pretend I never saw her? Pretend I don't have a daughter? I don't know, Andreas admitted. But whatever you do, you need to be careful. Think about what's best for the child, not just what you want. What I wanted was simply wanted my family back. I wanted to hold my daughter and tell her stories about Greece and teach her to speak our language. I wanted to make up for 11 years of missed birthdays and scraped knees and bedtime stories. I wanted to prove to Isadora that I wasn't the same scared boy who'd chosen money over love. But what I wanted and what was possible were 2 very different things. After I hung up with Andreas, I sat in my office until dawn, staring out at the city I'd conquered, but that had never felt like home. As the sun rose over Manhattan, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold that reminded me of Santorini sunsets, I made a decision. I was going to find out everything I could about Isadora and Sophia. Not to invade their privacy, but to understand what they needed, what I could do to help from a distance. If Sophia was sick, I could make sure she got the best medical care available. If they were struggling financially, I could find anonymous ways to help. I owed them that much, even if they never knew it came from me. But first, I had to deal with my grandfather. Leonidas Kostas Katsaros was 78 years old, and still came to the office every day at 7 sharp, still ruled the family business. With an iron fist, still believed that emotions were weaknesses to be exploited or eliminated. He'd been the one to force my choice 12 years ago, the one who'd threatened to destroy Isadora's family if I didn't walk away. If I was going to have any chance of making things right, I had to know exactly what he'd done and why. The Katz building in Midtown was a monument to immigrant ambition. 42 floors of steel and glass that had risen from my great-grandfathers. pushcart business to become one of the most successful real estate development companies on the East Coast. The executive floor smelled like expensive leather and old money, like the cigars my grandfather had never given up, and the cologne that cost more per ounce than most people made in a day. Leonidas was in his office when I arrived at 7:30, reading the Wall Street Journal with the same intense focus he brought to everything. At 78, he was still imposing, tall and broad-shouldered, with silver hair swept back from a face that looked like it had been carved from marble. His eyes were the same dark brown as mine, but they'd never held the warmth that I remembered. "From my father's—" "You're late," he said, without looking up from his paper. "I need to talk to you." "Then talk, but make it quick." "I have a meeting with the Morrison Group at 8. The Morrison deal, the $50 million development that would cement our expansion into commercial properties. The deal that my grandfather had been working toward for 3 years, the one that would probably be his legacy project. It's about Isadora Stavros." The newspaper crackled as his hands tightened around it. Slowly, deliberately, he folded it and set it aside, giving me his full attention for the first time since I'd walked in. "That name," he said quietly, "is not spoken in this office." "Well, I'm speaking it now." I sat down across from his massive oak desk, the same desk where he'd presented me with his ultimatum all those years ago. "I saw her last night." Something flickered across his face, surprise, maybe, or calculation. "Impossible. She works for the cleaning service that services our building. She was in my office." Leonidas was quiet for a long moment, studying my face with the intensity that had made him one of the most feared negotiators in New York real estate. "I see," he said finally. "And what did you discuss?" "The fact that I have an 11-year-old daughter I've never met." If I'd hoped to shock him, I was disappointed. His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes told me this wasn't news to him. "You knew," I said, my voice deadly quiet. "You knew about Sophia." "I know many things, Demetrios. It's why I've been successful in business while men with softer hearts have failed. You knew I had a child and you never told me. I knew that girl was trying to trap you with a pregnancy claim." His voice was matter-of-fact, as if he were discussing the weather. I made sure she understood that such tactics would not be tolerated. The world went red around the edges. "You what?" "I visited her family 3 months after you left Santorini. Made it clear that any attempts to contact you or make demands for support would result in very serious consequences for her father's business." I was on my feet before I realized I'd moved, my hands flat on his desk as I leaned across it. "You threatened a pregnant woman. I protected you from a gold digger who thought she could use a bastard child to sink her claws into our families. Wealth." The word bastard hit me like a physical blow. That's how he saw Sophia, not as his great-granddaughter, not as an innocent child, but as a threat to be neutralized. "She's my daughter," I said through gritted teeth. "She's nothing." His voice was cold, final, a mistake that should have been dealt with properly 12 years ago. I saw red. Before I could stop myself, I'd grabbed him by the collar of his expensive suit and hauled him halfway across the desk. "She's your great-granddaughter, you bastard. She's family, family." He didn't even look afraid, just annoyed, like I was. A child having a tantrum. Family doesn't threaten everything we've built for a moment of teenage lust. "Let go of me, Demetrios." I released him and stepped back, my hands shaking with rage. "What else? What else did you do to keep us apart?" He straightened his tie, his expression never changing. "I did what was necessary to protect this family's interests. Nothing more, nothing less." "The letters," I said suddenly, remembering something Isadora had said. She said she tried to contact me. You intercepted them, among other things. What other things doesn't matter. The result was the same. You stayed where you belonged, and she learned her place. Her place, like she was beneath us. like the woman I'd loved with every fiber of my being was somehow less worthy because she'd been born to a fisherman instead of a real estate mogul. "You're going to fix this," I said. "I'm going to do no such thing. You're going to fix this, or I walk away from all of it. The business, the money, the family name. I'll liquidate every asset I can touch and make sure she and Sophia never want for anything." For the first time, his composure cracked slightly. "Don't be foolish, Dimitrios. You're upset, but you'll see reason once you've had time to think. I've had 12 years to think. 12 years of wondering what my life would have been like if I'd chosen love over money. Now I know I had a daughter all along, and you stole that from all of us. I saved you from a life of mediocrity. You condemned me to a life of emptiness." I turned to leave, but his voice stopped me at the door. "If you pursue this foolishness," he said quietly, "you'll lose everything. The Morrison deal, your position in the company, your inheritance, all of it." I looked back at him, this man who'd raised me after my parents died, who'd taught me everything about business and nothing about love. Maybe that's exactly what I deserve to lose. But as I walked out of his office and back to my own doubt crept in, was I being noble or was I being selfish? Did I have the right to disrupt Sophia's life just because I discovered she existed? Isadora had made it clear she didn't want me involved, and maybe she was right. Maybe the best thing I could do for both of them was stay away and find subtle ways to help from a distance. I spent the rest of the morning trying to focus on work, but every few minutes I found myself pulling out my phone and searching for Premier Cleaning Services. Their website was basic, professional, with a staff directory that didn't include photos. But I found her name listed under experienced professionals. Isadora Stavros, 5 years with the company, specializing in executive office buildings. 5 years. She'd been cleaning my building for 5 years, had probably been in my office dozens of times while I was there, and I'd never known. How many times had we missed each other by minutes? How many times had she seen my name on the door and felt the same ache I was feeling now? My phone buzzed with a text from Andreas. "Coffee. You sounded like hell last night." We met at our usual place, a small Greek cafe in Queens that reminded us both of home. Andreas took one look at my face and ordered 2 double espressos and a plate of baklava we wouldn't touch. "You look like you haven't slept," he said. "I haven't." I wrapped my hands around the warm cup, inhaling the familiar scent of strong coffee and cinnamon. I confronted Leonidas this morning, and he knew about Sophia. He's known for 11 years and never told me. Andreas cursed in Greek, a creative string of words our mothers would have slapped us for. What else? He threatened Isadora's family to keep her from contacting me, intercepted letters. God knows what else. Jesus, Demi, I'm sorry. I told him I'd walk away from everything if he didn't help me fix this. And he told me I'd lose everything if I pursued it. Andreas was quiet for a moment, studying my face. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know." The admission felt like failure. Part of me wants to hire a private investigator, find out everything about their lives, figure out how to help them. But another part of me thinks Isadora was right, that it's too late, that I gave up my right to be in their lives when I chose money over love. But you didn't know about Sophia. Does that matter? I still abandoned Isadora when she needed me most. I still chose the easy path. You were 22 and being manipulated by a master manipulator. That doesn't make you a coward, it makes you human. But it felt like cowardice to me. It felt like the worst kind of weakness, the kind that hurt. "Innocent people, there's something else," I said. She mentioned that Sophia has been sick. There was medication in her cleaning supplies. Andreas's expression grew serious. "What kind of medication?" I couldn't see the label, but if she's seriously ill, I couldn't finish the thought. The idea of my daughter suffering while I lived in luxury was unbearable. "Okay," Andreas said finally. "Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make some discreet inquiries. Nothing invasive, nothing that could be construed as stalking. Just public records, school information, medical, privacy laws we need to be aware of. You're going to go home, get some sleep, and try to think clearly about what's best for everyone involved. I can't just, you can and you will. Because whatever you decide to do, it has to be the right decision, not just the one that makes you feel better about yourself." He was right, and I hated him for it. But he was also my best friend, the brother I'd never had, and the only person I trusted to help me navigate this mess I'd made of my life. That evening, I stood in my penthouse apartment, looking out at the city lights and thinking about a little girl named Sophia who shared my eyes and my stubborn jaw. Somewhere out there, she was probably doing homework or watching television or reading a book, completely unaware that her father had spent the day thinking about her every minute. The apartment felt emptier than usual. 5,000 square feet of marble and mahogany and floor-to-ceiling windows that showcased a view of Central Park that most people could only dream of. But it was cold, soulless, a monument to success that felt hollow now that I knew what I'd sacrificed to achieve it. I found myself in the room I'd always thought of as a potential nursery, though I'd never admitted that to anyone, even myself. It faced east, toward the sunrise, with built-in bookshelves and a window seat that would be perfect for reading stories. For 11 years, I'd used it as a home office, but now I could see it as it should have been, painted in soft colors, filled with toys and books and the laughter of a child who looked like both of us. My phone rang, jarring me out of my reverie. It was an unknown number, which usually meant business, but something made me answer. "Dimitrios Kataros?" "Mr. Kataros?" The voice was unfamiliar, nervous. "This is Marina Stavros, Isadora's mother." My heart stopped. "Mrs. Stavros, I'm calling from the hospital. There's been an accident." The world tilted. "What kind of accident?" "Sophia collapsed at school today. They think it might be her heart, but they're running tests. Isadora ... Isadora is scared." And I thought you should know. "Which hospital?" I was already reaching for my keys, my jacket, my wallet. "Mount Sinai, pediatric emergency." "But Mr. Kataros, I don't think Isadora will want to see you." "I don't care what she wants," I said, though that wasn't entirely true. "She's my daughter, Mrs. Stavros. And if something happens to her without me ever meeting her..." I couldn't finish the sentence. I couldn't even think about that possibility. "Room 314, Marina said softly. "She's in room 314. The drive to Mount Sinai took forever and no time at all. I parked illegally and ran through the hospital corridors, following signs to the pediatric wing, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might explode. When I reached room 314, I stopped outside the door, suddenly terrified of what I might find. Through the small window, I could see Isadora sitting beside a hospital bed, where a small figure lay connected to various monitors and IV. Even from a distance, even in a hospital gown with her dark hair spread across the pillow, I could see that Sophia was beautiful, a perfect blend of both of us, but somehow entirely her own person. Isadora looked up as I approached the door, and the expression on her face was one I'd never seen before. Raw terror mixed with exhaustion and a vulnerability that made me want to wrap my arms around her and promise that everything would be okay. But I'd lost the right to make such promises. Long ago, I knocked softly on the doorframe. Isadora's eyes widened when she saw me, and for a moment I thought she might ask me to leave. Instead, she just looked at me with a mixture of resignation and desperate hope. "How did you know?" she asked quietly. "Your mother called me." She closed her eyes briefly. I told her not to. I'm glad she did. I stepped into the room, and immediately the sounds and smells of the hospital faded into background noise. All I could focus on was the little girl in the bed, the rise and fall of her chest, the way her hand curled around the edge of her blanket. Is she? I couldn't finish the question. They don't know yet. They're running tests. Her heart rate was irregular when she collapsed, but it could be a dozen different things. Isadora's voice was steady, but I could hear the fear underneath. Some of them are treatable. Some of them ... She didn't need to finish. We both knew what some of them meant. I wanted to ask 1,000 questions about Sophia's medical history, about what the doctors had said, about whether there was anything I could do to help. But all of that seemed insignificant compared to the fact that my daughter was lying in a hospital bed, and I was meeting her for the first time while she was unconscious. "Can I gestured toward the chair on the other side of the bed. Isadora nodded, and I sat down carefully, afraid to make too much noise, afraid to disturb the machines that were monitoring my daughter's vital signs. Up close, the resemblance was even more striking. She had my nose and my stubborn chin, but her mouth was all Isadora, soft and expressive, even in sleep. "She's beautiful," I whispered. "She's everything," Isadora replied, and the love in her voice was so fierce it took my breath away. We sat in silence for a while, watching Sophia sleep, listening to the steady beep of the heart monitor. It should have been awkward, sitting there with the woman I'd loved and lost, looking at the child we'd created together. But instead, it felt right in a way nothing had felt right in 12 years. "Tell me about her," I said finally. Isadora was quiet for so long I thought she might not answer. Then, without taking her eyes off Sophia, she began to speak. She loves books. She's been reading since she was 4, and she devours everything she can get her hands on. Fantasy novels, poetry, even the medical journals I sometimes bring home. From my other job, your other job, I work part-time at a medical clinic in Queens, answering phones, filing insurance claims. It's not much, but the benefits help with. She gestured at the hospital room. I wanted to ask about money, about whether they had insurance, about what this was going to cost. But I sensed that would be crossing a line Isadora wasn't ready for me to cross. "What else?" I asked instead. "She wants to be a writer, like I used to want to be." There was wistfulness in her voice, a sadness for dreams deferred. "She's already written 3 short stories and the beginning of a novel about a girl who discovers she's descended from Greek goddesses." The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, the supposed Greek god of Manhattan real estate, and my daughter was writing fantasy stories about divine heritage while I'd been completely absent from her life. "She speaks Greek," Isadora continued. "I taught her. I wanted her to know where she came from, even if..." She trailed off, but I knew what she meant. "Even if she never knew her father. Does she ask about me?" Sometimes, when she was younger, she used to ask why other kids had daddies and she didn't. I told her that some families are different, that love comes in all shapes and sizes. "What did you tell her about me specifically?" Isadora finally looked at me, and I saw years of careful decisions in her eyes. I told her that her father was a good man who couldn't be with us, but that he would love her if he knew her. The words hit me like a physical blow. Even after everything I'd done, everything I'd failed to do, she'd tried to preserve some possibility of goodness in me for our daughter's sake. "Isadora, I don't." She held up a hand. "Don't apologize. Don't explain. Don't make promises you might not keep. She's been fine without you. We've been fine without you." But as she said it, a tear rolled down her cheek. And I knew that fine was a relative term. Before I could respond, the door opened and a doctor in scrubs walked in. He was young, probably early 30s, with kind eyes and the sort of calm competence that hospitals specialized in. "Mr. Avros, I'm Dr. Peterson, the pediatric cardiologist. I have Sophia's test results." Isadora went rigid, and the good news is that it's not a congenital heart defect. The irregular rhythm that caused her collapse appears to be related